Hi there, Facebook. I'm back, reluctantly, to talk about what we just saw in game number 2 of game 2 tonight. Man, my 76ers look like they might be no more. It looks like LeBron just got another huge break. I'll talk about that in just a moment, but first, one last cameo from our daughter Hazel, our little Maltese, who basically slept through the second half of that game because she just got tired of watching the 76ers, and I do not blame her. Hi, how are you? I just got to clean my nose before we do a little Facebook here. There we go. Hi, Hazel. Say hi to Facebook. Hi. Kiss, kiss. Okay, so she's still about half asleep. So, here we go, Facebook. I did pick the Philadelphia 76ers to win the East. I don't know what I did to my phone here tonight. It's a little off kilter here, but whatever. My tilt is wrong and I don't know how to fix it, but that's okay. I'll stay right here with you. I'm going to try to stay with my pick of these 76ers, but it's looking dismal because they just got dismantled by a better basketball team. I picked the 76ers to dethrone LeBron James in the Eastern Conference Finals. I believe they're a terrible matchup for Cleveland. We saw that on March the 1st and at the end of the regular season on that late Friday night game. We saw the 76ers dismantle the Cleveland Cavaliers. Just a bad matchup because they can protect the rim. Those two can in the middle, Joel Embiid, and the artist formerly known as Ben Simmons. But against LeBron, they can just take the paint away from LeBron and make it tough on everybody. And LeBron's team is not the best defensive team, while Philadelphia led the NBA in opponent's field goal percentage, so they can shut down the Cavaliers. That would be a bad matchup. I would like Philly, which obviously won barely home field advantage over the Cleveland Cavaliers. I would like them in 7 games over LeBron. And now it looks like that is not going to happen because Terry Rozier, in a shock to me, has turned into Kyrie Irving. I'm the biggest Kyrie fan, as you probably know from watching Undisputed. That's 9:30 to noon Eastern on Fox Sports 1. No Undisputed tomorrow. I think we're preempted by NASCAR, so indulge me tonight because I got to get all this out of my system. But it looks like LeBron James just got another huge break. He's going to dodge the bullet that was the Philadelphia 76ers coming straight for his playoff heart. He was about to be dethroned, and yet I think the Cavs will be a bad matchup for a very good, very well-coached Boston team, as we often saw in the regular season. Obviously, Kyrie is gone for the season. Obviously, Gordon Hayward was lost for the season in game number 1 at Cleveland. There's just something about LeBron and these Celtics. He'll have their number. He had their number last year. Obviously, it was Isaiah Thomas's team. Then Isaiah comes to LeBron. It's a disaster and a debacle, and Dan Gilbert does a sweet last-second end-of-deadline job of getting rid of Isaiah Thomas and restocking the shelves with George Hill, Jordan Clarkson, Rodney Hood, Larry Nance Jr., and all of a sudden the Cavs are taking off right on schedule. It is a joke what kind of opponent Toronto is. I did that in the previous Facebook tonight. I picked a sweep there. I picked 76ers in 6 games against Boston, and that is looking extremely dismal because that means now the 76ers would have to flip the script and win 4 straight games, and it doesn't look like they can win 1 straight game after what happened tonight, though at plus 22 because they were 22 up with about 4 minutes left in the second quarter. I thought I had it. This team, these Sixers, have been exploding on people down the stretch of the regular season. They were 25-25, and then they took off. And near the end of the season, they had an 80-point half and a 78-point half and an 80-point half. And by the way, the 78-point half was the first half against the Cleveland Cavaliers. They are extremely explosive. They added Bellinelli and Ilyasova, bombing threes. J.J. Redick's playing the best basketball of his life. And Ben Simmons had arrived. Embiid had already arrived, and Ben Simmons took over the team as the 7-foot-tall point guard, bringing the ball up the floor, attacking, distributing, looking Magic Johnson-esque. And it looked like here came the 76ers. I keep comparing them to the 92 Cowboys that arrived a year ahead of schedule in the National Football League and won their first Super Bowl under Jimmy Johnson against Buffalo before anybody thought they would. And that's what this team looked like until game one of this series. They pretty much got dismantled in that game. And then tonight, they're up 22 points. They looked like that team that was putting up 80-point halves. And I thought, here we go, back on schedule, all is right, so much for the cute little Boston Celtics. And then I made a terrible move. And you can laugh at me if you would like, but my wife laughs at me constantly. Ernestine, who just brought Hazel in here, she thinks I'm completely out of my mind, and you probably will too, but you, I'm sure, share some of these jinxes with me. I am jinx possessed. I believe in all kinds of jinxes. And she often asks me, so you think what you do in our place in Century City on the west side of Los Angeles, California, can impact a game in Boston, Massachusetts? And I say yes. And I impacted and changed the game tonight because I was in this room, which is my TV room. It's not a man cave. It's just my work room. This is where I work. This is where I, by myself, watch these games. I got 2 big screens. Usually I have 2 games going at once, though I can usually only digest and compute 1 game at a time. And in this case, I was watching my 76ers. And I was ready for them to take control of the series and stay on that epic battle path toward LeBron James. And at plus 22, they're 22 points ahead. Ernestine says, hey, since you don't have a show tomorrow and you don't have to work into the night like I usually do, I work deep into the night here. I keep my watch on East Coast time so I don't lose my mind. But remember, I have to get up at 2 o'clock in the morning to do Undisputed Pacific time. So I always say, because always for First Take, I got up at 5 o'clock in the morning, so it's 2 o'clock here. So I just keep my watch on East Coast time, and I think I'll go to bed at midnight, quote unquote, it's 9 o'clock here, and I'll get up at 5, which is actually 2 o'clock here. But tonight, I don't have to do that. I can sleep in a little bit tomorrow. So she said, hey, because she's always in the living room, just right around the corner from my room here, watching, I don't know what she watches, American Idol or HGTV, or sometimes she likes the NBA. Sometimes she loves the Spurs. She watches Spurs games, and she was definitely watching this game. So she's saying, well, just come in here and watch it with me. You don't have a show. And I made the fatal mistake of saying, you know what? I'll try this because it looks like they're in such command. I'm going to do this. So I unplugged my computer. I walked through this door and around the corner into the living room, plugged my computer in, sat on the couch at the coffee table. She brought in dinner for both of us, and I sat in awe on the edge of the couch as the Boston Celtics stormed back, and my Philadelphia 76ers lost their collective three-point jacking minds and degenerated into awful shot after awful shot after awful shot. And all of a sudden, 22 went down to 4 at halftime. So I tweeted, well, you know, obviously Philly would take a 4-point lead at Boston in pivotal, crucial game 2 any day of the week. Except the way this one happened, they lost all momentum, they lost all flow, they lost all touch with what they were at the end of the regular season and what they were against the Miami Heat in those 5 games, 4 dominant games, obviously. And I sat there until halftime, and I turned to her and I said, see? What did I tell you? See? I don't know why my phone's tilted wrong here. I don't know enough technically to fix it. Sorry about that. I'm not looking into the distance. I'm actually looking straight into the phone, but somehow my eyes are up. I don't know. I turned to my wife. I said, Ernestine. No, I don't say that. I don't call her that much. I don't use her first name that much. But I said, did I not tell you? Did you see what just happened? I said this was dangerous, and I just wrecked my pick. And I unplugged my computer, and I came back in this room, and I tried to undo it jinx-wise through the second half, but the damage was mostly done. They did fight back. They did get a brief, small lead, and then Terry Rozier turned into Kyrie Irving. And I'm not kidding about that. There are two players from Rick Pitino's Louisville program who right now are playing extraordinary, highest-level basketball, and that is my man, Donovan Mitchell with the Utah Jazz, who should be the Rookie of the Year, because I'm about to get to the guy who's going to win it and shouldn't win it. But that's number one. I did not see him coming, and I watched a good bit of Louisville basketball a year ago. I just didn't see it. I thought he was a nice player. I didn't think that. He's turning into James Harden / Russell Westbrook. He outplayed James Harden down the stretch last night. He took on Russell Westbrook head-to-head, face-to-face, nose-to-nose, mano-a-mano, Game 6 last Friday night. I watched that one in the living room with Ernestine, which was a mistake because I picked the Thunder, having a bad time with these picks. And in the third quarter of that pivotal Game 6, as Oklahoma City was trying to get Game 7 back home, which they would have won, Russell Westbrook scores 20 points. He just says, I'm going to will this. I'm going to get us home myself. Paul George is George Paul. He's a disaster. He's a complimentary superstar who shrinks in the biggest moments, as he always did when he was the solo star for Indiana against LeBron. So he shrank. He shot 2 for 16. He shot 0 for 6 from 3. And what happened? Donovan Mitchell said, no, not in my house. And he scored 22 to Russ's 20 in the third quarter and staved it off and held it off. And still Oklahoma City had a last possession down 3. They had 6 straight shots and could not convert. Paul George did get fouled on the first three-point attempt of that 6 shots. Not on the last one, but whatever. They lost. They're out. Donovan Mitchell is a star. Donovan Mitchell took over at Houston last night down the stretch. He guarded James Harden. He got physical with James Harden. And he made all the little plays and passes, including the signature play, at least the signature dunk of the playoffs so far, which was the little Euro step, little floater that he shot, and then slammo-whammo, put it back down right in the face of Clint Capella, Trevor Ariza, and P.J. Tucker, the whole front line of the Houston Rockets. Boom, right in your face. And that sent a message. We are legit. We are going home 1-1. Terry Rozier did it again. Another Louisville player I just didn't see coming. I had no idea. He's Kyrie Irving. Was that not Kyrie-esque? Does he not move like Kyrie? Does he not have the handle? Does he not have the range? Does he not have the guts? Does he not have the fearlessness? I've never seen anything like it. He's just taking these games over, and he did it again tonight. He just took the game over. And Boston is just better coached. Not that Brett Brown's a bad coach, but he lost control of his team because his point guard, the quote-unquote Rookie of the Year, who's actually a redshirt freshman, second-year player in the NBA, Ben Simmons, melted down, lost it, lost his poise, lost his way, lost his confidence. He looked overmatched and played out of control in the first half, so Brett Brown sits him for a good stretch, third quarter into fourth quarter, and played a little T.J. McConnell, who's actually not that little. Every time I think he's like 5'10", I look and he's 6'2", but, you know, T.J. played at Duquesne for a while, for 2 years, and then he transferred to Arizona trying to win a national championship, and they were very good. They got to the Elite Eight. But T.J. McConnell's pretty good. And so Brett Brown's going to be under fire in Philly right now because while T.J. was in there, they went on a nice run and did regain the lead and looked like a basketball team because he was setting them up and penetrating and making little big plays. He got a couple of offensive rebounds, and he made a couple of sweet little dishes, and he got a couple up and unders, and he just made it go. He brought a spark and a direction and a stability to the offense that Ben Simmons just lost tonight. And again, I respect his game. I picked him because of Ben Simmons. He's 7 feet tall. He dribbles the ball up the floor. And against Miami, he was just in attack mode. He was playing with an edge and a swagger and an arrogant sort of, like a good arrogant confidence that I just hadn't seen in him all year. And that was too much. When you pair him with Embiid, the monster of monsters, shooting threes, turnarounds, dunks, blocks, it's just too much. That 1-2 punch of the 2 7-footers is just too much on offense and defense. And then all of a sudden, biggest moment of the season, Ben Simmons loses his way. And Brett Brown tried to do teachable moment, and he tried to let him regain his composure on the bench. And, as a coach, I would have been tempted to let TJ take us home, but who, it's back to you dance with who brung you, the old Texas expression. And Ben Simmons did bring him. I don't think he's Rookie of the Year because he got to play with Joel Embiid much of the year, not all of the year, but much of the year. And Donovan Mitchell took over a team in Utah that lost Gordon Hayward and lost ultimately Rodney Hood, and obviously George Hill was gone and Joe Johnson was gone, and nobody thought the Utah Jazz were going to be in the playoffs, and now they're a serious Western Conference factor in the playoffs because they have a star. I mean, a budding superstar in Donovan Mitchell. Ben Simmons, I don't know. Redshirt freshman, so he got a second year. That's an unfair advantage over Donovan Mitchell. So I don't like that. You got to disqualify that. I know it's his first real year of basketball, but he got by osmosis to experience the NBA. He went to the meetings. He got to practice. He got to sit on the bench or the sideline during games last year. He got the feel of what it felt like. He got a redshirt freshman year that was crucial to him and gave him a big advantage. Donovan Mitchell's Rookie of the Year, and he proved it again last night. And Ben Simmons did not prove anything tonight except that he really cost his team a crucial game because he scored 1 point. What did he wind up with? Maybe 6 rebounds, 5 assists. I think he had 4 turnovers. He just looked overmatched. He made a couple of nice late plays, but it was too little, way too late. And they degenerated into Joel Embiid shooting threes at the end to get him back in the game. And he went 1 for 6, I believe. It's just, I'm sorry, it's not good enough when little TJ McConnell can set you up and get you into sets and offenses. And Ben Simmons is just degenerating into, he can't drive it. He's no shooter. So they're just saying, hey, Ben, you can't drive it. We're not going to give you the lane. And whoever's guarding him, Al Horford, whoever it is, Marcus Morris, they just say you can't come in here. And then he's just lost because he's got no shot. I mean, literally no shot. He can't shoot jump shots. He can barely shoot free throws. It's getting a little better. And that was pathetic because even though I tweeted the only way they're going to survive this game is Ben Simmons is going to have to come back in and take over the game the way he should have from the start. And yet I'm torn now because as the next couple of minutes passed, if I'm Brett Brown, I'm thinking, wait a second, TJ's got us going. And they might have won that game with TJ McConnell, but again, he's your superstar, and I'm close to several people inside the Philly organization who keep telling me they believe that Ben Simmons is more valuable than Joel Embiid. I'm just not there. I'm sorry, I don't see that. Then what happened at the other end of the floor? Joel Embiid ran out of gas, and obviously he's had problems. He missed those games. He's got to wear the mask now, so his conditioning is not the best. And he ran out of gas at the end because 2 people got him. Rozier blew right by him and got all the way to the rim, and that's usually a shot that he puts in his back pocket, and he didn't get there. And then Horford did it to him at the end, got right by him and laid it up, and Embiid didn't even get to the rim. I don't know if he's complaining about people grabbing him and holding him. It looked like he was. Maybe he did get held. Boston will do anything barely within the rules, scratch, claw, to play defense. They're shrewd operators. And Jason Tatum he looks like he's going to become a star. Jaylen Brown was already looking like he was becoming a star, and then he's playing with a pulled hamstring, but he played okay tonight. And Al Horford's just He's the quarterback, man. And they play such smart basketball. Pick and roll, pick and roll. They get Al Horford up at the top. He can shoot those threes. He can dish it inside, and he's playing the point. And Terry Rozier's more of a two-guard. And then Marcus Smart came back when I didn't think he was going to make it back for the playoffs. And he is playing the best basketball of his career on both ends of the floor. He made 4 threes tonight, along with Rozier's 4. And there's no tougher on-the-ball perimeter defender in the league than Marcus Smart. So remember, there's a reason Boston ranked number 1 in defense for the whole year. And there's a reason that they have home court advantage here is because they earned it throughout the year. Now, Philly was number 1 in opponents' field goal percentage, so they're pretty good too. They were getting shredded by Boston's ball movement, and Boston, after the 22-point deficit, just locked up and locked down Philly. They just couldn't do anything. They couldn't get into their offense. Šarić lost his touch. He was shooting line drives. Bellinelli was just forcing up threes until finally Brett Brown had to take him out. Ilyasova, all of a sudden, I thought he was such a sweet end-of-the-year pickup with Bellinelli, and all of a sudden he did nothing tonight. Covington had a couple of moments, but I'm not the biggest Covington fan. It comes and it goes. And so the whole offense degenerated into clear the side for Joel Embiid on sometimes Horford, sometimes Aaron Baines, my man from San Antonio days. And he just can't do that every time. He can't just score at will. And he wound up shooting some fadeaways, and it was pathetic, and they're in big trouble. Do I think they can win the 2 games in Philly? I do. And then what? Unless they can go win a game in Boston, they're obviously going to lose in 7 games. And now I'm hoping that my 6-game prediction will just come down to a Game 7. Can they even get it back to Boston, Game 7? Could they storm out to a 22-point lead and figure out how to hold on? Ben Simmons is going to have to wise up and grow up and shape up and stand up before this is over, because they were just a one-man team, and the one man ran out of gas on defense at the end of the game, or ran out. Maybe he lost heart. Maybe he did get one really ticky-tack foul call on Horford driving by him, and he didn't trip him. He just barely body touched him. It was not a foul, and so maybe he just lost heart. And I got to say this about Joel Embiid. He talks a big game. He tweets and Instagrams a big game. And sometimes I think, just cool it, big man. Just let it come to you. Sort of, take what the defense gives you instead of trying to set the tone. And I know he's arriving. I keep saying they have arrived. But he talks such a big game that I think he's biting off more than he can chew with this team, because this team has a big chip on its shoulder. This is the team that lost 2 All-Stars and didn't have Jaylen Brown for Game 1, another potential All-Star. And I think they came out tonight like, screw you. Talk. He's always got something to say about the Boston fans, the Miami fans, how they're not afraid, how they stunk it up, how they were rusty because they had the 6-game layoff. And it just gets a little old. And I'm a big Embiid fan, and I was a big Ben Simmons fan, but I think they just talked themselves right into a hole. I think the Celtics came out with a mental toughness and a drive and a high IQ basketball desire and guts and scrap and fight that Philly just doesn't have yet. There's a little bit of fat cat to them. There's a little bit of, just a little bit of we have arrived, and when we step on the court, you should bow to us. And Boston won't bow. Boston's a bad matchup because Boston just keeps coming. Dwayne Wade finally said, remember after Game 5, he said, it's not hard to lose to a better team. He just gave up after he had some terrific moments and stretches in fourth quarters in that 5-game series. And Dwayne Wade paid the ultimate compliment. He just said, you know what? They're just too good. They're just too good. And they were. And I was impressed, and I felt real good about my pick of Cavs, Sixers over Cavs in the Eastern Conference Finals. And now I don't feel good at all. And I said on Undisputed at the end of the show today, I'm scared of this game tonight. I don't love it. Philly was still a 3.5-point favorite tonight. And whoever bet on Boston won again. And I'm sure Philly will be a 6-7-point favorite in Philly. And again, I think they can win both those games, but I'm not even sure of that now. Boston is legit. Rozier's legit. Their team, Jason Tatum's just legit. And they're playing with such confidence and such resilience that I think it's going to be really hard for Philly to do anything more than survive and try to get back to Boston for Game 5, 2-all. And then I must admit, I don't love my chances. I am starting to like LeBron's chances to get back to, I'm losing track. What is he up to now? 8 straight finals. I feel for him because it looks like he's going to sweep the Raptors, as I predicted. It looks like he's going to get rest to go into a series at this point against Boston. Pretty easy matchup for Cleveland. Big advantage, LeBron. I think they could win that in 5, maybe 6 games, but more like 5. And then be plenty rested for what looks like will be Golden State yet again. And now I get to the point where I feel sorry for LeBron because I cannot see this Cavs team with no Kyrie hanging with Golden State. That would feel like another 5-game series to me. Could even be a sweep. But LeBron's building the legacy. He's piling up the stats. He could say, I've been to, help me out, I can't remember what it is. Is it 8 or 9? I think it's 8 straight finals. So he could put that on his resume. So he would fall to 3-6 in the NBA Finals against Golden State. Michael Jordan, you don't need me to tell you this, 6-0 with 6 MVPs, so that's over. But he could say, well, look, I went to 8 straight finals. Yeah, in the Eastern Conference, you went to 8 straight finals because it was mostly the Eastern Conference. And mostly you kept getting really good draws and really good breaks. Indiana was tough in the first round. You got through it thanks to Kevin Love's little salvo when you checked out, King. And now you've got the Raptors or the Ruptures or whatever they are. They're just a joke to me. You psychologically own them, and you would have a big psychological ownership of these Boston Celtics. So, way to go. It's a good night for the King. But down the road, NBA Finals looms. Another loss, but an 8 straight final for LeBron. And it would be interesting to see if they could figure out some way. Maybe Golden State just gets complacent. Maybe Steph doesn't stay as healthy. Who knows? All I know for sure is the Philadelphia 76ers are in big trouble. All I know for sure is Brad Stevens is my coach of the year. All I know for sure is this Boston team, when it gets Kyrie back and Gordon Hayward back, it's going to be Philly-Boston fever going forward for the next 2 or 3 years, depending on where LeBron goes. Is it possible LeBron goes to the Sixers? It's really the only move he can make. I don't see anywhere else to go. I think he has to go there. I've been making the case that I would like to see my Spurs trade Kawhi Leonard straight up for Ben Simmons, and after tonight, I don't even know if that's the right move. I'm not sure that guy is that guy. I'm just not sure. That was very disappointing. I'm disappointed we don't have a show tomorrow. Again, preempted by, I think, NASCAR on Fox Sports 1. So no Undisputed tomorrow, but we will be back Monday, 9:30 to noon Eastern Time on Fox Sports 1. Me versus my partner, LaShannon Sharp. And by the way, one last thought on tonight. My man Kevin Hart showed up again tonight, courtside, this time in Boston. He's a big Sixers fan, and I swear he's a jinx. I made a big case after he showed up in Philly for Game 2 against Miami. Dwayne Wade went off on Kevin Hart and took it out on the Sixers in that game, remember, in the fourth quarter. That was vintage. Dwayne Wade. But I happened to see Kevin Hart the next day because I taped one of his shows. I don't know if you know the show from the internet. Pardon my language, but it's called Cold as Balls. And I taped one that I think will post in June, I think. check it out. It was quite an experience. And yes, they got cold. I will say that. We both sit in a cold tub, if you don't know the show, and they pour ice when you give the wrong answer. They pour more ice into your tub. And I got frozen, but it was quite an experience. And I love my back and forth, my sparring with Kevin Hart. I did not love him tonight at the game. It seems like every time he shows up, it's bad news for his Sixers. So if you're watching Kevin Hart, wherever you are, just stay away. Just watch it on TV. You don't have to be the show of shows on the sideline. We kept seeing shots of you on TNT tonight, turning around, giving to somebody in the third row about 3. That's 3 in your eye, in your face. I don't know, Kevin. Just leave it be. Let them be. Let them play. Don't egg on those Boston fans. Don't make it even harder for your 76ers. I know you love them, but if you love them, leave them. Stay away from them. Watch them on TV. I'll be watching, and I hope you will be watching Undisputed on Monday morning. We will be back at 9:30 to noon Eastern Time on Fox Sports 1. We appreciate you. We appreciate our ratings. We've been blessed. I'm knocking on wood. Thank you very much. I will see you Monday. My wife and my child, quote unquote, my Maltese, Hazel and Ernestine, are waiting for me right around the corner. I think I just heard her say, that's enough. So that's enough. I jinxed myself tonight. It happened again. I'll stay here next time. Maybe my Sixers will survive. Thank you for watching Facebook. Over and out from West Los Angeles.